Hello, everybody, and we're back for our next little intermission. I hope you enjoyed that interview from Neil Thorpe. His stuff is really, really good. If you go over to Roll20 and look up 2D Storyteller, you'll see he's got the Galaxy interface, which is of more interest to the sci-fi folks. But his High Seas pack is pretty awesome. It's got like crazy like animated kraken tentacles and like wakes for the ships, and it's like animated and there's like a tentacle's got a guy and he's swinging him around and the kraken's attacking the ship. It's got like jaws coming up like like the shark coming up out of the um, ground out of the water, kind of after the ship and stuff. So yeah, it's really cool. And then he also has a cool like necromancer lord or something pack that uh, has um, like an undead cleric and like zombies and skeletons that come up out of the ground in an animated way. So yeah, those things are all great additions to your Roll20 maps. Um, I don't see. I guess they could also work for Fantasy Grounds. I just don't know if the format's the same or if it just needs conversion. So anyway, that's a cool product. Go check that out, and thank you to Neil Thorpe for sponsoring a prize today. He's uh, put in a copy of his Galaxy interface for Roll20 in the prize pack. So someone's going to win that at the end of the night. If you want to enter that drawing, go over to cyborgprime.com and get yourself on the newsletter list. And you can do that by either just signing up for the newsletter at the bottom of every screen, or go to the blog and look in the sidebar for free stuff. If you download any of that free stuff, you're in the drawing. If you download anything free or pay from the shop, that's all that puts you in the drawing. So there's no purchase necessary. It's if you don't like to be on mailing list, you can unsubscribe after the drawing. If you do stay on the mailing list, then you will occasionally get notifications when I put out new products. So I'm not interested in spamming anyone. It's just an easier way to do the drawing. So anyway, welcome everybody. Welcome back. Happy Traveler Day. Mayday, Mayday. It's Mayday, May 1st, and we figure if you can have May the 4th be with you, then why not have another silly sci-fi pun day for our favorite sci-fi role-playing game. So welcome back. Our next person's coming up in a little over 15 minutes or so, and that's going to be Paul Elliot of Zozer Games. He's the creator of Hostile, Solo, and a bunch of other sci-fi RPG source books. And he and I sat down and talked for a full hour about Traveler and all kinds of good stuff. Um, yeah, like I said before, it was really fun doing these interviews. These folks are very friendly and generous to me with their time. So thank you so much for your contributions to the Traveler. Um, what do I want to say? Like con- to the world of Traveler content, because while some of these aren't explicitly licensed Traveler products, they are things that can supplement your Traveler game. So we want to celebrate Traveler and all of its different offshoots because it's been around since like the late 70s, 1977, late 77, early 78, and it's been through many, many editions, and so we're going to kind of go through all the offshoots and get like focused and focused until we hear from the author of Mongoose Traveler Second Edition, Matthew Sprange, and then followed by our keynote speaker, who's Mark Miller, the creator of Traveler, who just published Traveler 5. So there's a couple of branches of Traveler you can follow. I mean, Traveler's been made into many, many different game systems. There's a Traveler for Hero. There's GURPS Traveler. So yeah, Traveler's a beloved sci-fi game that's been around a long time, and everybody has their favorite um, their favorite um, edition. So, and every edition does have its things that endear it compared to the others. Let's see. So before we get started on the next thing, let's talk about characters. Um, I was looking through this book called The Ultimate RPG Character Backstory Guide, and if you haven't ever seen it, I think you can pick it up for $20 or something on Amazon. I'll try to put a link in the description, but it's a kind of a cool book that helps you make details about your character. And so one of the things I thought might be fun is I'll pose some of these questions as we go through the interview, and if you answer them, grab a notebook and a pencil. By the time this event is over, you'll have some backstory for your character. So while you go get a pen and pencil, I'll talk to you about this thing here that I thought was kind of a fun exercise, and that's 5 things you can't throw away. Okay, so your character left his homeworld and he's out adventuring in space, but there's 5 things that he's taken along with him for whatever reason. Maybe it's sentimental value, maybe it's actual value. It's up to you to decide. So this for this section, we're going to talk about the first item in your backstory of 5 things you can't throw away. The first thing is something found. Something found. You've been holding on to something no larger than your fist. Long ago, you found it on one of your first missions. You thought it might come in handy one day, but never used it. What is it? What about what about it is unique? And what is it? What do you want it to do? Think about that for your characters. That's something found. One of the 5 things you can't throw away. Part of the Ultimate RPG Character Backstory Guide, which is a very fun and interesting book. Let's see. Uh, Cats, what's something that you found that you can't throw away?
Tentacle.
You found a tentacle?
Just woke up one morning and it was there.
Okay, well, you can see he's rather attached to his tentacle. How about you, Gomez?
I found and can't
Okay.
throw
It is his
away.
arm after all.
Right. No, seriously, Cats. You have a box that your
in my
character like
hand?
takes around with you that you managed to save with you on your escape pod. What's important enough to bring with you? Something that you found, your character found in one of his first missions. It could be one of the first missions with this crew, or it could be one of the first missions from, uh, way back in your history. Oh yeah, Kevin Walsh, I love the hero system. I see you in the chat there, telling us about that. Traveler Hero was one of your books. Thank you very much for that. Hero system's great. I love it. We play champions and stuff all the time, so I like to drop the names of my favorite systems there. All right, Mr. Katz, have you come up with something that you found?
I would have to say probably a miniature lockbox full of credits and assorted paraphernalia, knowing my character.
Oh, all right. And where did you find it, or where'd you get it from? Like, what's the significance that you carry it around?
It it was an acquired item. Let's
Acquired. All right.
Matter of professional
and
interest.
sponsored his transgressions, therefore, and the backstory of being found on a pleasure planet with money that was not his own, not directly stolen exactly, but that was an item that kicked off all that backstory.
All right, cool. How about you, Doctor Gomos? What's something found that you've been holding on to for whatever reason that it's valuable to your character?
And I was very young. Already mentioned that I'm physically emaciated with a genetic disorder. I was also abandoned by my parents, probably essentially because of that. Real sob story. But at one point when I was digging around through a donation bin, I found this old action figure of a superhero, kind of like Space Conan the Barbarian, and he's jacked and he solves all his problems with strength. So I've been carrying around that little action figure with me since the age of, I don't know, how about 10?
Hmm, very interesting. All right. And how about you, Chief Briscoe, Inspector Briscoe? Is there something that you found on one of your first missions, either back in the day or when you came along with this crew that you don't want to part with?
So it's sort of a cliche thing for the new cop on the beat, idealistic, and would be like a first case where he gets involved with. Basically, he wasn't able to save a kid, and it's the kid's like teddy bear, its favorite memento. So it helps remind him, bad things happen to good people. No matter what you can do, you can still fail.
Wow, that's very. You guys are very creative. That's some all cool stuff to come up with on the spot. They were not prepped. Yeah. So, wow.
So
Those,
I have to admit I have the ultimate RPG book in my hand. So
dope cheater. Well, that's okay.
I've had it for a very long time, and it's a great book to have.
It is a very cool resource. I wonder of the people who are listening out in streaming land, how deep do you go on your character backgrounds outside of the background story that you get from just rolling up a character? Do you even think about things like this? What's in their pockets is, or what do they carry around with them? What's a memento? Do you even care? Um, One thing I noticed that was kind of interesting is we went around the table and came up with who's your parents or where'd you come, tell us about your home world. And of the five people at the table, only two of them had last names. Everyone else just had one name, and everybody was an orphan except one person.
My name is
So, which is funny. Everybody has a first name, but my character has parents, a family, but he only has a last name.
What's your
Yeah.
name? Briscoe.
What is
Briscoe
your
what? Briscoe.
just Briscoe?
No. Briscoe what?
Right. So I was sort of
Captain
thinking,
Briscoe.
what was it? What was the cop? The TV cop guy.
Oh, that TV
Oh,
cop.
what's his name? You only know him by his last name. I can picture.
Kojak.
No, the other one.
Columbo.
Columbo. Yes. So he's sort of a Columbo. But this sort of dovetails back into my first character, Saito. Is for me, he was just a collection of numbers and a name, and for me, there was no character hook for me to buy into with him as a character.
Right.
So I was like, I just can't. I'm not going to. I, as a player, can't play a character if I can't invest in him at some level.
What was
I
it?
can't.
Was it just that you wanted to kind of like roll up a practice character and see how it went, and then go from there, or was it? I mean, because I thought you wanted to get a Marine, and then you did. But was it just the backstory you
I
couldn't click, or what? What was it that you didn't
yeah, it
seem
was
to
just a
connect?
backstory. There was just no hook, no spark or life in him.
Mm,
And then that's when I created, the detective, and it was like, wow, this is somebody I can get into. I can already come up with a background. I've already come up with all these answers were coming to me even before I'd started rolling the character, and that's when I knew I had a character I could invest in.
right. That's awesome. How about you, Gomez? What attaches you to your character? Like, What is it that hooks you to your character?
Um, I think it's because he's like essentially like the character is like the physical embodiment of a min max. Um, he's like socially capable but financially was financially destitute. He's physically emaciated but incredibly smart, to the point at which like both of those things affect how I play my character on an everyday basis. Um, I mean, it started out when we were doing the character creation thing. Uh, I essentially told myself that I'd stick with whatever I rolled for stats, and I rolled a 2 for strength, and it just kind of exploded out from there.
So you just kind of like followed one like when what do we want to call them, like hint or whatever to the next, and it kind of like chain reaction
Yeah,
into a
yeah.
character.
The whole character creation thing did a really good job of guiding me. I went in really not knowing what I wanted to do. I kind of had an idea, but whatever. And as I went through different like careers and what are they called? Not
Just the career terms.
terms. That's the word.
Mhm.
Thank you. As I went through different tiers, like the story started to build with the positives and the negatives, and I don't know. The character built himself.
Yeah, that's one of the things that drew me to Traveler is there's a lot of, I guess you could call it solo play, where you can just generate characters all day long. It's a fun little mini game, and you go, what about this guy? How did this happen to him? And with the more recent versions of Traveler with the events system added in, it really gives you more like a well-rounded character that has a weird backstory, and then it's kind of fun to like patch the holes or do the connect if you use the connections rule, uh, find ways to get the other players involved in your story, in exchange for some relevant skills or whatever. So that's always something fun. And what else? Yeah. Well, let me ask you, Mr. Katz, what connects you to your character?
Okay, so basically, my character is loosely, or maybe not so loosely, based off one of my favorite sci-fi characters, Lister, out of
Lister.
Red Dwarf. So that's my inspiration for my character.
hmm And that's your kind of attachment to him. Have you ever played Traveler before this game?
This is my first traveler experience, which has been going on for how long? We've been playing for over a year.
I don't know,
A
a
year.
year maybe. I don't know. We'll have to have. Gomez actually keeps like a traveler diary. I wonder if most crews do that. He keeps ledgers of how much money they spend. He keeps like a captain's log. So every time we start a new gaming session, he does a recap, and we do last time on Corvus Sector, and then he reads back the crew did this and the crew did that, and catches this up, and it's kind of cool because it's we try to play it like an episodic kind of um, Star Trek thing. Every week is kind of a little self-contained thing. It ends with a cliffhanger. Everybody looks forward to the next game, and we all have a great time. Last our game this week was on Wednesday, and oh God, I laughed my butt off. We had a good time.
Maybe he could recite the last note last
Yeah.
time on
Ma-
this.
Yeah, maybe we'll do that. He had to step away for a phone call, but yeah, maybe we'll get him to read one of those because Gomos is also good at doing voices. He does a really great like old timey like radio voice, and he also has like a funny way of like talking. So yeah,
Too well.
yeah, he's really funny. Anyway, yeah, these are all guys, by the way, that I met through Discord and actually through playing MechWarrior Online. So I just want to do a shout out to MechWarrior Online because without that, I would not know these cool dudes. We met way back on like a TeamSpeak server, and we all became friends. And then when Discord came out, we put a server up over here, and we all moved our different unit groups over to Discord, and we live on. So yeah. Anyway, we're going to get on to the next interview. This is going to be Mr. Paul Elliot of Zozer Games. He's the creator of Hostel and Solo, which are Hostel is like an expansion that is all about aliens. It's like alien feel corporations and aliens. And then Solo is like a cool solo game. Anyway, you'll hear more about it right now. Here comes Paul Elliott.